by the FBI, but is it possible that some of the people there were actually reporting to the FBI and that they encouraged, as we said, others to commit crimes? That's an entirely fair question. But for asking it, the usual propagandists and the news media denounced us with maximum hysteria as conspiracy theorists and unpatriotic. They're still denouncing us now. But as it turns out, we were right to ask those questions, and tonight we'll show you why. Mark Ibrahim is a 32-year-old Army veteran who served in Iraq. On January 6th of this year, he was a federal agent. He worked for the Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA. Ibrahim says he went to the Capitol that day because he was invited by an FBI informant, a man he had known in Iraq. We have confirmed this is true. We've reached out to that man, the man that Ibrahim went to the protest with. He denies he encouraged anyone to break the law, but that man did confirm that he has been an FBI informant. He confirmed the FBI knew he was at the Capitol that day, and he confirmed he invited Mark Ibrahim to the protest. Ibrahim says that if the two of them stood outside the building, the FBI informant turned to him and strongly encouraged him to enter the Capitol building. Ibrahim knew that was illegal, so he refused to do it. Ibrahim did not enter the Capitol that day in the end. He did not destroy property. He did not brandish his DEA-issued weapon. He did not remove it from its holster. He did not commit any violence of any kind. In fact, he repeatedly remarked that he disapproved of the rioting he saw at the Capitol. We know that he did because he said so on contemporaneous video. So that seemed to be the end of the story, an American citizen standing at a constitutionally protected political protest in his nation's capital. The next day, he flew to Los Angeles on a commercial flight, and on the flight, he carried his sidearm, which is legal. Federal agents in good standing are encouraged to keep their weapons with them, and he did. And the feds knew about it because he was on a plane. But then things took a bizarre and stunning turn. The DEA fired Ibrahim from his job for going to that protest on January 6th. When he came on this show to tell that story, Joe Biden's Justice Department doubled down. This week, the feds charged him with a number of felonies, including being too close to a federal monument. That would be Section 5104 of the U.S. Code, the law that makes it a crime to, quote, step on or climb on any statue, seat, wall, fountain, or other architectural feature, or any tree, shrub, plant, or turf in the Capitol grounds, end quote. Mark Ibrahim now faces 15 years in federal prison. This is a grotesque and a shocking story, but it is real. Mark Ibrahim joins us now, along with his attorney, Darren Richie. Thank you both for joining us. Darren Richie, first to you as the attorney. It's hard to see, based on the facts and the 16-page charging document that we have read, what exactly the crime is here that would justify 15 years in prison.
Well, to me, it looks like we really have a Department of Justice seeking quantity over quality. I don't see any crime here. The particular crime that you just mentioned with regard to 5104, in particular Section B, describes injuries to properties. No property was injured, no person was injured, no violence was committed. He didn't enter or breach Capitol grounds whatsoever. There's no crime, and we intend to defeat all of the charges in short order.
And there's not even, again, having read it, I can say, an allegation of a crime that I can see, certainly of a felony that would justify 15 years in the charging documents. Mark, thank you very much for coming on. I just want to be very clear about one thing. The man who invited you to this event is a longtime FBI informant. He's confirmed that to us. He was a friend of yours. He may still be a friend of yours. While you were there, and I want to be clear on this, he encouraged you to breach the Capitol. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I think he asked me to go with him to protect him, and I think he was there to document. Both him and I were seeking to protect the public that day. We went there with the intention of seeking those who wish to do our government harm, to stop them, and to protect those who peacefully protest. While I was there as well, I walked up to the FBI SWAT team, a team that courageously entered that building and rescued the Capitol building, and I offered assistance to them. Individuals on that team have my personal phone number. And yes, I was carrying my firearm because I was a credentialed DEA agent. I'm expected to. My brother is a credentialed FBI agent, and he was carrying his firearm. Everyone there was safer that day because both of us had our firearms. I don't think the informant that I brought to the rally that day was malicious or trying to entrap me in any way, shape, or form. But I think we were just trying to do the best we could with what we had. It was chaos. And we went there with the intention to protect the public.
The FBI knew he was there. Now, he says he was not working at their direction, but he concedes they knew he was there, and we'll let our viewers reach their own conclusions on the basis of that. Do you believe there were many other people in the crowd that day who had been in contact with the FBI as the man you were with had been?
Not that I've seen. But again, I went there with the intention to protect the public. Both me and my brother went there with the intention to protect the public.
So since you are not being accused of going into the Capitol, you're not being accused of brandishing your firearm, of hurting anybody, of breaking anything, of defacing property, of spray painting monuments, which is very common in Washington, why exactly are you facing 15 years in prison from the Biden Justice Department, do you believe?
I don't know. You know, I love my country, and I love my freedom. And for the first time in my life, I've had my freedom taken away from me. And, you know, I was in jail this week. And while I was in jail, I had a lot of time to think. And it's just very sad. But what I was going through doesn't even compare to what my Cuban brothers and sisters have been going through in Cuba for 60 years of oppression. And so you know, it's just sad that
yeah, but this isn't supposed to be Cuba. That's kind of the difference. This is the United States of America, and the whole point of serving in the Army, and you have done that, and of being a federal agent, and as noted, you have done that as well, is to protect the right of American citizens to go to political rallies that the regime disagrees with, but it seems like you're facing 15 years in prison for doing that. So what does that mean to you?
I feel like my rights have been violated severely. You know, I went to court in handcuffs, and it was tough. And it's just sad to see the state of our nation. I love my country, and I had no intention of hurting anyone or going in that Capitol building, nor did I that day. Attending that rally was not illegal, immoral, or unethical in any way. The riot that ensued at the Capitol building, the destruction of property, the assault on police officers, that is, and I abhor that with all that I am. I went there to stop crimes, and I'm expected to carry my firearm because if felonies happen in front of me, I can stop them. I'm expected to stop them.
Right, and of course, and that's, I mean, anyone who's been a federal agent, we've talked to a number of them in the last week, will tell you you're encouraged to carry your weapon with you. You're a sworn federal agent. It would be interesting and useful, I think, to the continuation of our democracy if people with power in Congress would do something about this. It's clearly political prosecution. There are people sitting in jail for political reasons. Mr. Richie, is there any recourse other than to go through this trial? I mean,
well,
what are your options?
Certainly, once these charges terminate in Mr. Ibrahim's favor, then we can seek malicious prosecution. I believe, and so does Mr. Ibrahim, that this is a reach by the Department of Justice, and there really are no crimes here to be alleged or proven. At the preliminary hearing on September 20th, they'll have to prove by probable cause that a crime was committed and Mark committed those crimes. We don't believe that they can even pass the first prong, and there's no crime that's been alleged that has been committed, and we believe will defeat the charges.
Yeah, well, I got to ask you finally, Mark, I mean, we're seeing 1 million people break our laws to come across our southern border. We watched an entire year of people tearing down federal property, statues, burning courthouses, looting cities. You kneeled on a federal monument. Were you aware at the time that the Biden Justice Department would put you in prison for 15 years for doing that?
No, I was not. And
there you go. Yeah, and you stood, too. I'm sorry. I correct my description.
No.
Okay.
I was not.
Well, this is one of the scariest things I've seen in a long time. And maybe the FBI could answer a few questions about this immediately. Gentlemen, I appreciate your coming on tonight. Godspeed to you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, Tucker.
We'll be watching.
Thank you, Tucker.
Thank you. So when you were a kid, there were encyclopedias, there were history books. There was a whole library of ways to understand the past. Now there's just